Now I'm glad to introduce Cynthia Quarterman, who has been the administrator for PHMSA for most of the last 2 terms of our current president. And she gratefully again has agreed to come and speak to us to open up with a keynote this morning. And I'm not going to waste a lot of time going over her bio because I want to introduce her and let her speak as long as possible. And she's agreed to take some questions at the end if we have time. She has a pretty quick turnaround flight out of New Orleans this morning, so she doesn't have a whole lot of time. But hopefully we can give her a little Q&A at the end. And I've got a mic up here, and we'll play Phil Donahue once we get to that. Ms. Quarterman.
Thanks, Carl. I am in awe being up here on the stage with you, being one of the 2 most important election winners the past year. That's very impressive. I'm happy to see that you're back here and back in government. I just wanted to start by saying good morning to everybody. Sorry I missed you at the carousel last night. I didn't know anything about it. And this trip to New Orleans, I'm not going to get any beignets either. I'm very disappointed. It's one of the things I try to sneak off and do if I have a moment, and I won't be able to do that. It's great to be outside of Washington, D.C., and this is a beautiful place to be. You know, PHMSA's relationship with stakeholders like you is extremely important to us. We need more people who are in the same mold as the Pipeline Safety Trust involved in pipeline safety. And I mean that sincerely. We really need people who are thinking about pipeline safety as we are all the time, regardless of whether there's an incident occurring or not, who are focused on it. Carl put up a slide talking about what should the public be focused on. All the things on that slide are things that we as regulators are doing and focused on. And I think it's a good idea as the public for you to start thinking about what segment of that you want to spend your energy on. So I welcome, I really want to hear the results of your discussion here today and tomorrow. I appreciate the opportunity to collaborate and share our experiences, skills, and expertise with all of you at this conference. I'm happy to report that 2012, and this is not the 3-year or the 5 or 10-year average, just 1 year, was a pretty good year for pipeline safety. We had the lowest number of serious incidents related to pipeline safety in the past 20 years. And we had the 3rd lowest number of fatalities as a result of pipeline safety in 2012. And 2013 is turning out to look like a very similar year as 2012. Now, having said that, you look at the incidents in North Dakota and in Mayflower, Arkansas, and it reminds us all that our work here is not anywhere near being done. Now, our goal as an agency, and I hope your goal as the Pipeline Safety Trust, is to get us to 0. We really want to get to 0 pipeline safety incidents. I'm not going to say it's going to happen tomorrow. It probably won't happen while I'm at the administrator at PHMSA, but it's something that we need to be moving toward. And that's the same message I'm giving to you that I have given to all the industry groups, and they have made a commitment to that. So we really need to work together to get to 0. We're focused on making progress and continuously improving pipeline safety. As I have said over and over again, you know, there have been great challenges, but in those challenges come great opportunities. And one of the great opportunities is that so many people are paying attention to pipeline safety. This gives us the opportunity to really improve the integrity of the pipeline system and to remind everybody that we can't rest on our laurels. We need to always be continuously improving pipeline safety in every way possible. Now, a lot of what we do depends on the dedication of a great staff that I have at the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, a great but small staff. There are about 200 people who are responsible for 2.6 million miles of pipeline in this country. And they spend a lot of time working on those issues. Let me put in context what we're talking about in terms of the size of this agency. In 2012, the President's budget request was for $155 million, which is about $45 million more than we had in the past year. These extra funds are very important to us because we need them to hire more inspectors, to get the states to hire more inspectors, to increase our investigation staff, to be able to collect more data and use more data, and to work harder in our enforcement areas. We really need these additional funds to hire more people and to do more work. We're not there yet, but we hope, and we saw more funding, more people on that side. We hope that's part of what you're thinking about as well. I'm so proud to be a representative of Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration employees. They work very hard with very little. Just this past weekend was my 4-year anniversary at PHMSA, and they say here, and I didn't know this, that I'm the longest serving administrator at PHMSA. I really appreciate the hard work and the dedication that our employees have put in over these past 4 years. When I look back on some of the things that have been accomplished in that period, I am really in awe of what our employees have done. We have closed 15 NTSB recommendations during 4 years. There were 29 closed during an entire 10-year period before that. We issued 31 safety advisories. Over the past 33 years, there were 118 issued. So essentially, 1/4 of all the safety advisories that have been issued were issued within this past 4 years. We have really been working hard. The bottom line is that we all want the same thing, and that is safer pipelines. I saw at the beginning slide, and here it is, Pipeline Safety Trust, credible, independent, in the public interest. So is PHMSA. Our mission and your mission are exactly the same. We should be like this, working together, and I hope that that's what comes out of this conference today. Let me address some of the things that are happening at PHMSA. One, I want to begin with the rulemaking area, which I know many of you watch very closely, as do I. I understand that some of you are frustrated with the pace at which rules are happening in Washington. I think most of the country is frustrated with a lot of things that are happening in Washington. I can't take credit for all of them, thankfully, but I feel your pain, absolutely. Unfortunately, rulemaking doesn't happen as quickly as I or you would like to see it happen, because every step in the process represents a very important component. And there's a recent GAO report that our general counsel at the Department of Transportation just reported to all of the administrators who are all sharing the same pain about rulemaking. Said the GAO just reported that it takes 4 years on average to get a rulemaking done. That's an entire presidential term to get a rulemaking. That's on average, which means that some of the difficult stuff that we are dealing with here, the complex issues, are probably on the other side of that 4 years and take a little bit longer to get done. Despite the time that it takes, I guarantee you that we are committed to moving forward, to getting new rules out in many of the areas that we have put forward in our advance notice of proposed rulemaking, and we've had workshops on. Our folks are diligently working away at those issues. We take time to gather public opinion and comments, as you know, on each proposed rule. We also have the extra step of the Federal Advisory Committee Act. In our statute, it says that we must take all of our regulations to that committee for a vote. And we're happy that Carl Weimer is one of the members of that committee and serves you well there, but he can tell you of some of the workings and inner workings of that committee and how much time and effort it takes to go through that step as well. In addition to that, we have to prepare what we call a cost-benefit analysis for each of our proposed rules. This is where our past success can affect our future progress. It's a little bit perverse, but the lower the number of incidents, the lower the number of fatalities, the higher the bar is for us to issue new rules. The lower the regulatory benefit, and essentially it has to be offset with a comparable cost. So that's something that we are constantly going to outside economists to work through making sure that our rules can pass that benchmark. In short, the rulemaking process is long, but each step exists to make sure that the process is inclusive and thoughtful and that we come forward with credible and useful regulations. It's important to remember that there is more to pipeline safety than just regulations, and I think the slide that Carl put up is an example of the more. We really need to use every tool in our toolbox to get things done and to improve pipeline safety. Safety requires a commitment by all of us. Pipeline operators must know their infrastructure, they must know the environment they're working with, and they need to process that information and use data to ensure that an incident doesn't happen. Their staff and contractors also need to be prepared and trained and have a huge commitment to safety. We at PHMSA we're going to keep working on finalizing our regulations, as well as ensuring that compliance and enforcement is happening as new pipelines are built, as existing pipelines are running, and we will investigate incidents as they occur. But we'll also be working on getting more data about the pipeline systems and trying to integrate that data to work smarter. We'll be working to do more research and development to try to find more tools that can help identify integrity issues in advance of an incident occurring. Today we have with us our Community Assistance and Technical Services team. We call them CATS. The CATS are meant to be your liaison to the pipeline safety program to help you understand what's happening on a community level. If you could stand up, I'm going to read the names of different people in different regions. Karen Gentili is from the Eastern region. Joe Madiak from the Southern region. William Lowry from the Southwest region. Harold Winnie from the Central region. And Tom Finch from the Western region. And I know some of these guys, they're fantastic. When I go out, usually I have a CATS person with me, and they are some of the best people in the agency in my view. They have done inspections in the past. They know a lot about the pipeline system. They know about the states. And I want to thank those folks for their hard work and remind everyone here to get to know them. There's going to be a session with them later on in the conference. And this is an opportunity to have a personal person for you at our agency. Also here today we have Alan Mayberry, if you could stand, who's the head of no longer field operations, but program and development. Linda Dougherty, who is the head of field operations. They sort of switched jobs, temporarily at least. Linda moved back to Kansas City and is going to head up the office there once we find a replacement for the head of field operations. Jeannie Schiffer, who is the head of our public affairs and governmental shop. We have Christine Murray, who is the head of program development. And did I miss anybody from PHMSA who's here? Please stand so that folks can grab you in the aisles and ask you questions along the way. Okay. We really need more people like them, and one of the things we want to ask you is to help identify those people. You all here are obviously interested in pipeline safety. We constantly are in need in new and marvelous people to come work for us. If any of you are engineers, please grab one of these guys in the front and give them your card. We're always looking for engineers. Earlier this year, we introduced the Competitive Academic Agreement Program, and this is a new and neat thing. It's meant to fund students and universities who are exploring new ideas about research in pipeline safety. We're really trying to gin up the next generation of folks who are doing amazing things in high schools and colleges and get them interested in pipeline safety now, in part so that we can recruit them to come work for us, but also in part because there are some brilliant people out there doing things. And earlier this year, we introduced the Linda Dougherty, who is the head of field operations. They sort of switched jobs, temporarily at least. Linda moved back to Kansas City and is going to head up the office there once we find a replacement for the head of field operations. Jeannie Schiffer, who is the head of our public affairs and governmental shop. We have Christine Murray, Murray, sorry, who was the head of program development. And did I miss anybody from PHMSA who's here? Please stand so that folks can grab you in the aisles and ask you questions along the way. Okay. We really need more people like them, and one of the things we want to ask you is to help identify those people. You all here are obviously interested in pipeline safety. We constantly are in need in new and marvelous people to come work for us. If any of you are engineers, please grab one of these guys in the front and give them your card. We're always looking for engineers. Earlier this year, we introduced the Competitive Academic Agreement Program, and this is a new and neat thing. It's meant to fund students and universities who are exploring new ideas about research in pipeline safety. We're really trying to gin up the next generation of folks who are doing amazing things in high schools and colleges and get them interested in pipeline safety now, in part so that we can recruit them to come work for us, but also in part because there are some brilliant people out there doing things, and they may come up with the missing item that we have. Right now, there's no research tool that can do everything, but maybe with their help, we can find such a thing. Another way that you can help is by helping us educate the public about 811 and excavation damage. One fact that hasn't changed very much over time, and that is that excavation damage remains a leading cause of pipeline safety issues. And it's an easy thing. It's almost always preventable if we provide information to people to let them know that they need to call 811 before they dig. We really need your help in that. I also saw that another session you're going to have over the next 2 days is related to PIPA, the Pipeline and Informed Planning Alliance. I see there's a debate planned about whether we should continue, whether we shouldn't. Let me say we need to continue it. I don't think we want to kill it. Maybe we need to resuscitate it. So we need your help on what to do about that. For those of you who don't know, this is a mechanism with their recommendations related to land planning around existing pipelines. We really need to get more folks aware of what's happening in a community basis with respect to pipelines before they decide to build a new development around an existing pipeline. So that's very, very important. If you look at some of the recent incidents that occurred, those communities were built very close to those pipelines, and somebody should have thought about that before it happened. It's not within our jurisdiction, but we want to insert ourselves there if we can help prevent those things from happening. Jeannie would kill me if I didn't mention the fact that we have all sorts of new fun media accounts. We have a Twitter account, we have a YouTube account, and we are using those things just to provide information to you, to the public, and to operators, to everyone about pipeline safety. I know that a lot of you are out there tweeting and all of that. We want you to become part of our process. And she's also revamping our website. I heard a little dig from Carl about that. We have so much data up there you can't find it. We are working on fixing that. We really want. There is a lot of information there, and if you're looking for something, you should ask Jeannie where it is, and if it's not there, maybe we can find a way to put it up there. But we're trying to get it into a more organized fashion. Now, the path to pipeline safety is not an easy one. Our budgets have been affected. We've had 3 years of no increases while we had all these incidents occurring. We have many NTSB recommendations we're responding to. We have a new Pipeline Safety Act. We have zero new money, no new people allocated to this effort. So the folks at PHMSA are doing what you keep hearing, doing more with less. We're actually doing that, but we need more involvement and more help going forward. There are 135 inspectors and enforcement staff, and that's really the cap for us. We need more of those folks to help us going forward. We're getting a lot done, and let me just say that pipeline safety, as you can see from some of the photos that Carl said, is affecting everyone in every corner of the nation. There was a time when a pipeline incident occurred in some place off the main street, you didn't hear about it. That's no longer the case. every incident, if it has an explosion or an oil spill, is being reported and tweeted and pushed out around the community and around the world, around the United States, and you know about it within an hour. We hear about it. That's a good thing, because that means that we will all pay close attention to those incidents and make them stop happening. Everybody will be vested to make that happen. So I appreciate all your involvement here. And Carl, I'm happy to turn it back over to you for question and answers.
It sounds live. Thank you, Administrator Quarterman. We have time for just a couple of questions because we're already running a little behind because I'm a long-winded politician. Who's got a couple of questions? Looks like one of my board members. I better hand her the microphone or I'll be in trouble.
Good morning, Administrator Quarterman. Thanks for coming to the Pipeline Safety Trust meeting. Congratulations on 4 years in that position. And I guess an obvious question is, given the number of major incidents that have occurred during these 4 years, unfortunately, can you describe to us your 1, 2, or 3 greatest accomplishments in terms of prevention and pipeline safety and environmental protection? Thank you.
Sure, thanks very much for that question. I think there has been a long, when I first came to the first meeting here, the Pipeline Safety Trust had on its website sort of a wish list of all the things that it wanted to accomplish, including leak detection, remote and automatic control of shutoff valves, EFVs. Those things are not complete, but they are on the agenda and will be complete soon. So all the things that the trust has been looking at, we have put into motion and tried to raise awareness across the country to ensure that those things happen. You know, there were some easy wins coming straight in. I mean, before we came into office, there was no distribution integrity management plan. That is happening now. The control room management rule, low stress 2 rule. There are rules that were finished, but I think more than anything, what I see as being the greatest accomplishment is to change the dialogue here, to really focus on the integrity of the pipeline system, not just, talking about little things here and there. I mean, I think we have an underlying issue with the age of the system. I mean, it may be true that the systems have lives that will go on if they're properly maintained, but we have an underlying issue with infrastructure in this country, and we need to know what it means to be properly maintained. We have just finished, or we haven't finished, but we've been going through this integrity verification process with respect to pipelines, and really the big question is, how do we keep these pipelines in the best operating order? I think we are surrounding that issue, and that will be the biggest legacy here. But, my biggest thing is data as well. Behind the scenes, it's not something that you're seeing, but behind the scenes, we have begun conversations with Google and with IBM and with others about our data and how do we make a leapfrog jump with what we have to get in front of incidents before they occur. I feel like a whole lot is going on, so I feel pretty good about where we are right now.
One more question? I'm going to go over here.
My name is Josh Joswick. I'm with the Oil and Gas Accountability Project. You mentioned in your remarks that the cost-benefit analysis that goes into rulemaking. Could you kind of talk about some of the things that go into that cost-benefit analysis?
Well, I'm not an expert on this, but I will do my best. The benefits associated with the new rule, for example, if we want to put in shutoff valves across the country, we have to be able to look back at incidents that occurred related to not having a shut-off valve in place and calculate what was the cost to the community. That would be property damage costs if there was loss of life. All those things added up, and compare that to the cost to the industry of putting in those shut-off valves. And the two need to at least be zero. Preferably, the benefits are higher than the costs. So it's a difficult equation when you have a program that has been steadily improving in its statistics. I mean, certainly we are not perfect in that we have all these high consequence events that are occurring, but it's a difficult balancing act to get rules done in that environment with that kind of equation.
All right. I'd like to thank Ms. Quarterman one more time. She's been here a number of years in a row, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you.